Good morning, moms. This is a first for me. I recently saw a YouTube video where a gal just sort of sits and does her normal things and chit-chats about various things that she's learning and shares that with her audience. And I thought, what a fun thing to do, to be productive in more than one way at a time. So working in my kitchen or working in my house and sharing with you just some thoughts that I have about homemaking and just a whole plethora of subjects. I thought this gives me an opportunity to share my heart on more than one, in more than one way. I have a podcast that I do weekly with 2 episodes a week. But I was just praying the other day and just thinking to myself how much I have on my heart to share and how it's really hard to get that all out in just 2 podcasts a week. So I thought I would give this a try. I'm in my kitchen. It's Monday morning. It's January 2nd. So kind of kicking off 2023 with a new idea, and I call it an experiment because I always did that while the kids were growing up. I would, when it came to homeschooling and doing different things with them, I would call a new idea an experiment because then if it didn't work out, I didn't feel bad. It was like, oh, it was an experiment and it didn't work out, and then that's okay. So, as we're starting the new year, a lot of us we do New Year's resolutions. And I think it's super great to be able to start some new habits, sort of have a place in the year where you can get a fresh start. New habits can bring a lot of good fruit, but I think we have to be super careful not to confuse that with the worldly philosophy of self-help. Our world is full of self-help videos, books, and all of that. And as believers, we're called to be transformed. We're called to redemption. We're called to sanctification, and that is the work of God in us. Positionally, we are right with God, and we are perfect before Him, but we're still working that out in our day-to-day as we move towards, passing from this life to the next. So I like to think of the things that I'm doing differently in 2023 as little tweaks, and then also being committed to keeping my heart just aligned with the Lord and His Word, so that when He brings trials along, which He will do in 2023, that I have a mindset of working with Him, have a mindset of, I have a theology of suffering. So I understand that trials and afflictions work out for my good and for His glory, and that He is working all things out for my good and His glory. And so I can walk through those trials with that in mind, and just understanding that He is a good God, and He is not just good, but He's sovereign over all areas of my life, all areas of everyone else's life. And anyway, maybe you tuned in and you're like, who is this woman in the pink sweatshirt yammering away? So if this is the first time you've ever heard of me, I am Dorinda Wilson, and I'm married to Daryl. We have been married for 33 years. And we have 8 kids, ages 31 down to 18. We've homeschooled all of them from the beginning. So we've been homeschooling for many years. And obviously I've been a stay-at-home mom for all of those years and continue to be a stay-at-home mom. We still have 2 kids at home, one is 20 and the other is 18. And so I'm still momming after all this time, but I'm in my kitchen this morning. This is my favorite place to start in the mornings after I have my quiet time, and pray with my husband, get dressed. Sometimes I take a walk first. Sometimes I do it a little bit later. But the kitchen is where I like to start because I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Fly Lady, but she was really popular back in the late 90s, probably early 2000s. And she sort of took moms step by step through organizing their homes and keeping an organized home, sort of maintaining an organized home. And so her suggestion was always start at the kitchen sink. If you're overwhelmed and you don't know where to start in your house, maybe it's the new year and your house is a disaster and you don't even know where to begin, start at the kitchen sink. Get the dishes done. For me, doing dishes is therapeutic. I'm not a fan of laundry. I still do it, of course, but dishes are an ongoing thing. But it's amazing to me how in just literally a matter of minutes, like the whole kitchen can look terrible and be an absolute disaster. And in literally 20, 30 minutes, I can have this place looking absolutely pristine. So that's a great place to start. So I think her advice was really good for that. Gosh, I also got up this morning. I've been getting up and making breakfast immediately, first thing. And so one of my favorite breakfast items that I like to do is I take an iron skillet and I put some oil in it, and then I cut up sweet potatoes and onions and throw them in the pan and let them cook at a medium heat for probably 5 to 10 minutes. They start browning and getting a little bit tender, and then I throw in cut up zucchini. So I slice it in half and then I slice it across, and then I put in what after that? Add the zucchini, let that cook a little bit, and then at the end I add some kale that I've chopped up and some uncured Polish sausage that I get at Costco. And so I just cook that all up, and then I take my portion and I leave it on the stove. And then as my husband gets up and my son gets up, and my daughter gets up, if she's here and not working, they grab the food out of the pan on the stove. It's just ready for them. So that's been kind of a nice routine for us. Now, obviously, when all the kids were home, we did it differently. I had kids on breakfast duty, kids on lunch duty, and then I always made dinner and usually had a dinner helper. So that's how I would do it when the kids were all home. But this is working well. Maybe that works. Maybe this would work well for you too. It depends on what season of life you're in. But, starting out with a good breakfast and the kitchen cleaned up, to me is like, it's primary. It's like the thing that helps me feel like I've got a little bit of a grip on my day to start with. So for whatever that's worth, I'm throwing that out there. Gosh, what else could I share this morning as we're starting into the new year? I think just starting in the kitchen is such a great place to start from. I actually love homemaking. I love keeping my house, and yes, it's a repetitive thing, but it's also a very therapeutic thing, is what I found. I like to clean the floors on my hands and knees. Not everybody's into that, but I figure I'm going to keep doing it till I'm too old to do it. I figured it's keeping me in good shape. That's the other thing about housework that I love, is it really can help you stay in shape because you've got to be moving and grooving, So I like to get up, like I said, and get the kitchen done. And then a lot of times I just go over the floors real quickly. I'll sweep, especially a room that gets used a lot, like the kitchen. Or if it's been a weekend and you've had people in and out all weekend, I've got this great vacuum that just, it's just a lightweight. In fact, I'll show it to you since I can do that. I can't do that on the podcast. So this is the vacuum that I use. It just mounts onto the wall. It's battery operated, so it charges all the time. And once it's charged, then all those green lights are on. And I can just take it off, and it works well for 30 minutes without losing suction. So that's been great because I have basically no carpet in my house except for a huge throw rug in the living room and a small throw rug in the bedroom, in the master bedroom. And then of course some little rugs spotted throughout the house, but most of my house is hard floor. And so I love that for the hard floor. It's lightweight. But yeah, just vacuuming and gathering laundry and folding laundry. And I mean, really, honestly, while you're sitting there folding laundry, if you think about it, there's a couple things you can be doing. You can be praying, especially if no little ones are talking to you at the moment. That's where I often found the kids would scatter because they didn't want to help me with the laundry. So a lot of times I found myself isolated and alone and kind of liking it. A little bit of solitude, not a bad thing. A great time to pray, a great time to talk to the Lord, a great time to have him check your heart while you're folding that laundry or doing the dishes. I did find that a lot of times when I was doing a chore, my kids would scatter, so I wouldn't ask them to help me. Not that that stopped me from asking them, but sometimes I would decide, okay, is it more important for them to come help me, or is it more important for me to have some solitude right now and just pray and think about where my heart is and ask the Lord to prepare me for the rest of the day. These points throughout the day as a mom that you can find solitude and refuge, even if it's just a few minutes. First thing in the morning, hopefully, maybe you can get a little bit of time with the Lord. I feel like that's kind of a really important place to start. And so, we can train our little ones to sit quietly while we spend 15 minutes in the Word and prayer. So that is something that is doable. Especially if we're not planning anything too early and we're getting up in a timely way. I've never been an early riser person. So I'm not that person who wakes up before the crack of dawn, before the kids are awake. It didn't matter because no matter what time I woke up, they would wake up. They know their little radar would go off. And so it was easier for me to either have them sit quietly while I did quiet time, and again, doesn't always have to be quiet, but it is really nice to be able to start out being able to focus just on a few verses in the Word, write down anything the Lord shows you, a scripture that stands out to you, put it on your, like above your sink, wherever you're doing your dishes or wherever you are frequently. I have a day planner that I leave laid out all the time to remind me, keep me directed towards the things that I need to do that day. And sometimes I'll have a verse there where I know I'm going to go there a lot throughout the day. And so I've got this verse sitting there reminding me of what the Lord showed me that morning. And so often it's a passage that is applicable to that particular day. So going to the Word in the morning is so important. You have to think of it like eating. Like it's not something you're forcing yourself to do. It's something you need. It's something we need. It is necessary for our spiritual health, just like our meals are necessary for our physical nourishment, so we can think straight and our bodies can function properly. It's the same thing about being in the Word. And you don't have to be in there for long periods of time. You have to understand that it is quality over quantity during certain seasons of your life. If God gives you an opportunity that morning to go longer, but just trust him to lead and train your kids to give you that time if that seems to be a problem right now. And it's good for our kids to see us in the Word. It's good for them to see us praying. I don't know if you know Savannah Wesley. It's Charles Wesley and Charles, and now I can't remember his brother. Anyway, they are, forefathers of the faith. They lived in the 1600s, I believe. But anyway, they had a bunch of siblings, and their mom would just take her apron and she would put it over her head, and she would pray. And so the kids knew that when the apron was over her head, she was praying and not to bother her. And so that's, there's lots of ways that we can get that time with the Lord and it not look like what we've always envisioned that it should look like. But the important thing is that we're doing it. And starting out first thing in the morning, I think is really important to just sort of orient ourselves for the day. And then, like I said, there can be these touch points throughout the day when you're folding laundry or you're doing dishes, and you find yourself with a few moments with nobody talking to you. Stay off the phone. Don't listen to my podcast while you're doing that. Spend that time praying. I would rather you do that. If that's going to be more beneficial for you. And of course, if you want to listen to my podcast, you can. But I think that, it's something you have to decide for yourself day by day as the Lord leads. And so my point is that it's more important for you to spend time with the Lord than it is for you to spend time with me. So that's something we can be doing. Another thing we can be doing is talking about kind of staying in shape as a mom. Like I said, I take a walk every morning, but other things that we can do while we're folding the laundry or while we're doing the dishes, when we pick up a baby, pull in your core. We know that having strength in the core is very important, right? It's important for good health. It's important to just sort of stabilize us and keep us, help keep us in shape and help keep us, you know, our balance and everything intact. And so simple thing like just periodically as you're vacuuming or as you're folding laundry, picking up kids, you know, use your knees, not your back, to pick up those little ones, and maybe go up and down a few times and get some, you know, get some exercise for the glutes and the thighs. You know, there's just so many little things that we can do throughout the day that incorporate good health and you know, just a healthy spiritual mindset in the midst of having kids and in the midst of being a mom, because this is where God has placed us. And I think that's where I kind of want to wrap this up this morning, is God has you in this place for a reason. Like, he has given you these children. They are a gift to you. He's given your husband to you. He is a gift to you, and you are a gift to them. But more than that, God wants to bring, he wants to sanctify us through motherhood. It is one of the, I would say it has been the single most powerful tool that God has used to sanctify me. And he continues to do that, because you never stop being a mom. You mother them all when they're close by, but you're still a mom when they leave the home, and there are other challenges that come with that season of motherhood. All of it works towards our sanctification. All of it works towards making us more like him, giving us a more accurate view of who he is, because it's when we understand his goodness and when we understand who he really is that we want to obey him. And when we obey him, I was reading today, like, my obedience to him does not add anything to God. It doesn't make him any more powerful. It doesn't change him. It changes me. And so as we're walking out our days as moms and we're walking in obedience to the Lord, he is transforming us. And it's hard to see it because it happens little by little by little. But oh, the work that he does, it is absolutely magnificent. But one of the things that it requires is faithfulness on our part, day in, day out, the plodding. I say that motherhood and homeschooling is 99% plodding. It's just being faithful in the little things every single day. And it's those little things that turn out to be the really big things, the really big ways that God changes us and transforms us and makes us more like him. So I just want to encourage you today to be faithful in the little things, and he will make you ruler over greater things. That's what he says in the word. And this is exactly what happens, because as we grow in our faith, he gives us opportunity as we get older and are, you know, like I'm in a place right now where he's given me opportunity to encourage moms and to speak into the lives of the next generation. And that is a commitment that I've made. That I will do that. And so, but all these years of just being faithful to get up every morning, do the dishes, do the laundry, take care of my kids, discipline, train them, discipline myself, cooperate with God's discipline in my life and training. And all of that equips us along the way to be able to be used more and more and more by him. But right now, moms, he is using you mightily within your homes. And so don't forget that. Don't ever underestimate that. What you're doing at home matters. It is important. Put that apron on and get to work this morning. We are going to go through 2023, and we are going to continue to be faithful to the Lord, and as wives, as moms, as women of God. So I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks for joining me.